Good afternoon. Hi, I am with Mr. Prakash Jain, who is
Prashant,
the
Prashant Jain.
yeah. Hello, am I audible now?
Yes.
Hello. Hi.
Yes, you
Hi,
are
sir.
on.
Good afternoon. And we are live right now. First of all, congratulations on the Q2 results. So, could you just throw some light on the growth and also, where it particularly is the growth coming from? We see some 37% year on year growth this time, right?
Yeah, thank you, Shita. And first of all, happy Diwali and happy New Year to you and all your viewers. So the
Thank
quarter
you.
gone by, we saw the power demand growth was 5.7% for the year. First half, we saw close to 12% power demand growth. Uh, of course, now the merchant volumes have gone down during the quarter. It was down 20% year on year, and also the prices were also moderated. At the same time, the fuel prices were elevated, because of which we saw the contraction in the margin. However, EBITDA on an absolute basis was very robust, and it was maintained. And that's why we saw the demand and the EBITDA growth by 2%. And during the quarter, we saw the profit after tax, which grew by 37%, primarily because of lower tax rate and additional higher income.
All right. So, and coming to basically merchant power sales, last year, I mean, not last year, in the last quarter, you were very positive about the merchant power sales, and it was pretty high. And you had, kind of said that it would go on, continue to remain high throughout the year, and also in the next FY. But do we see a bit of, I mean, the merchant power sales weakening this quarter, and what is your outlook on that, and what are the reasons for the same?
So certainly, the because of the moderation in the power demand growth, we have seen the merchant volumes have also gone down, and so is the power prices, and that's why we could not sell more volume in the merchant market. And fuel prices remained elevated. Thermal power coal prices were high, and as you know, in the e-auction of the domestic coal also, the coal prices were very elevated, and because of that we could not push more volume in merchant market. And second half also, I am not expecting that the situation to improve. For the year as a whole, we are seeing power demand between 7 to 8% growth.
All right. For those who've just joined in right now, Money Control is currently live with Mr. Prashant Jain, who's the CEO and Joint Managing Director of JSW Energy. So, JSW Energy just recently this week released its quarter two results, and it looks quite positive. So, continuing with our interview, I just wanted to, you talked about the EBITDA margins. Could you just throw some light on the reasons for the margin contraction this time?
We are having a long-term power purchase agreement for all our thermal power plants, and in that, the fuel prices pass through. During the quarter, our fuel prices went up by 130%, primarily because of the higher coal prices. And when this happens, our EBITDA rupees per kilowatt hour is same. However, because of the increase in the fuel price, the denominator increases and you see the contraction in the margin as a percentage of sales. But in terms of the absolute EBITDA per megawatt or per kilowatt hour is protected. So there is no change in that. So checking the EBITDA margin in a power company is not a right way of analyzing the business.
Approach, right? Right. So then, we all know that how GSW Energy plans to kind of, expand to about 10 gigawatts by 2025 and 20 by 2030. So, are the targets the same? Have they been revised? And what is the act like? complete plan to kind of achieve this? If you can just
So we are
elaborate on that.
moving, we are moving ahead of schedule. We talked about by FY25 we will be achieving 10 gigawatt of capacity. We have already logged in 10 gigawatt of capacity, which we will be completing in next 12 to 18 months time frame. So there will be a upside surprise which will be coming up in terms of our capacity addition. In addition to that, we have also embarked upon the storage solution. We have
Okay.
recently participated in one large, world's largest tender by SECI for
Oh,
1,000 megawatt
yeah.
hour of lithium-ion battery storage solution for the grid. So that's a new dimension which has also opened up. It is over and above this 10 gigawatt capacity, and we are also building the large pipeline of 50,000 megawatt hour of the hydro pump storage solution, which we have already contracted. Now we
Yeah.
will be developing those kind of a capacity going forward. So there will be upside in our planned capacity, and which we will be executing.
Sir, could you also throw some light on, I mean, elaborate more on the battery plans, the companies, I mean, you said that you've participated in the latest tender. What other, I mean, way forward, what is your vision towards battery? And also, if you could just elaborate more on the hydrogen perspective, since you've already taken out the topic on that.
So this renewable power plants, they operate on a lower PLF because
Yeah.
with the solar capacity which is operating 6 to 8 hours in a day on an average. Similarly, wind is operating between 8 to 10 hours in a day on an average, and hydropower plants, they operate 10 to 12 hours in a day on an average on the for the round the year average I'm talking about. So you need the storage solutions going forward for the country. India today has 408 gigawatt of the total installed capacity. Out of that, 165 gigawatt is the renewable capacity. As we are building more and more renewable capacity going forward in the country, the grid will become unstable. You will
Right.
be having a lot of power at certain time blocks where the demand may not be as much. So you need storage capacity to uh, store that power at that point of time and give you the power when it is not available. And that's where the lithium ion battery storage solution as well as a hydro pump storage solution are um, will be developed, and that's what we are developing, and it is going to create a new business dimension for company like us, and which we are very very optimistic about it.
Right.
Coming
Sir,
to the second, yeah,
yes,
sorry.
carry on. Sorry.
Coming to the second question, you have talked about the hydrogen. So that is a future economy,
Yeah.
which is electron to molecule economy. So power is today used for multiple purposes, and it becomes a raw material. But hydrogen economy and or the electron to molecule economy is that you are going from thermal energy or electrical energy to chemical energy, and hydrogen is going to provide you that, and that can be used for mobility purpose. That can be along with the CO2 capture. It can you can produce ethanol, methanol, and synthetic aviation fuel, and specialty chemicals, fertilizers, everything, plastics, polymers, um, everything can be produced from that particular economy. So that's a new dimension of economy, which is there is a migration in globally which is happening. Our Prime Minister on the Independence Day talked about his vision about the hydrogen economy going forward for the country, and so government is working on policy initiatives and coming out with various policies for developing this particular economy, and we are working towards that.
Sir, and does the company per se, in particular, has any kind of even it might be at the initial stages, but is there any plan as such in terms of green hydrogen and the company entering into that foray?
Yeah, certainly we are entering into green hydrogen space. We are um, developing the project at this point of time. So it is at the drawing board stage. We are building and putting all the blocks together. We are taking
Right.
necessary approvals. We are also waiting for various policy direction from the government, various rules and codes which needs to be taken out. For example, for transportation of the hydrogen, you need various safety regulation, various other IS codes which needs to be developed. The
Right.
pipelines codes needs to be developed. So all that is required to be done before the commercial projects are started and institutionalized in the country.
Right, right, great. Sir, and could you just also talk about the current fuel prices? Last interview you did with Money Control in the last quarter, you had said that the prices of coal that time were very high, but right now, even the European countries are resorting to thermal power plants, and it's we're seeing a return to coal. So, what is your outlook on the whole situation? In terms of, and do you also see that in this quarter particularly the coal prices have kind of softened? What do you have to say about that?
So coal prices have been elevated because of the geopolitical issue as well as the higher natural gas prices. Because the natural gas prices are higher and alternate fuel to natural gas is the thermal coal, and because of which we are seeing primarily the thermal coal prices are pretty high. In last 2 3 weeks we have seen the natural gas prices have moderated, and so are the thermal coal prices. So if the
Right.
geopolitical tensions goes down and also the natural gas prices come down, then you will be seeing moderation in the thermal coal prices. Until that time the prices will remain elevated. um, Still, the thermal coal prices are in the range of $250 to $300. They were as high as $400 a couple of weeks ago. They have moderated, but they need to come down below $100, which may happen and may not happen for a long period of time. Until that time, we are going to see elevated thermal prices.
Right. So then, what about the company's thermal output and capacity expansion in terms of thermal power plants, and what's the way going forward?
We are having right now 3,300 megawatt of the operating thermal power capacity. We are not setting up any more capacity. We have recently acquired, post approval by NCLT, another 700 megawatt thermal power plant in Bharat Utkal in Odisha, which
Yeah.
we are contemplating to use for developing the polysilicon project going forward.
Right. Right. And sir, do you, in terms of the way forward, what is your outlook for the next financial year in terms of JSW Energy? Here, I would also, after you answer, I would come upon your latest acquisitions and the updates on that. But first, if you could just give an outlook for the next financial year, the upcoming financial year.
So right now, we have undertaken the growth projects. We are right now 4.88 gigawatt capacity. 2.5, 2.6 gigawatt is under construction at this point of time, and which will be going into commissioning from current month onwards in next 12 to 14 months time frame. All this capacity will get commissioned. In addition to that, we are acquiring additional capacity of 1.75 gigawatt. So that's all will be work we will be contemplating and doing for the next 1.5 year.
So, what about, yeah, you talked about it, but could you give an update on Mitra Energy's acquisition closure? Where are we on that? Is it
We
almost?
have already received the CCI approval
Yeah.
for the transaction. We are in the process of taking various regulatory approvals as well as the approval from the lenders, and we are expecting the transaction will get consummated in the current quarter.
Oh, okay. So, by when do we start seeing some activity on that front in terms of proper, the whole process getting completed and complete takeover
So by end of quarter, which will be by
by end
31st
of this
December.
quarter, right? Right. All right. And so, could you also talk a little bit about JSW Neo? What are the plans? I mean, I'm sure most of the things that you've talked about also kind of links to JSW Neo. But if you have to kind of state the vision for the next 1.5 year for JSW Neo, please throw some light on that too.
So we have created a structure which can enable, thermal business separately and renewable and new age businesses separately, and that's where we have created a JSW Neo as a main holding company, which is at this
Mm.
point of time a subsidiary of JSW Energy, which is a
Right.
listed vehicle. Necessary NCLT approvals have already come in, and we are now making the further, regulatory compliances, which we are expecting in next 3 to 4 months, or maybe by end of this financial year should be completed. Once this is completed, then the entire business will be having two structures under the listed company. One is the thermal business, and second is the renewable
Renewable.
and new age business. So all the storage business, renewable generation business, hydrogen economy, and polysilicon, everything will be coming under JSW Neo. So
Okay. So,
that's
are you
how.
also exploring some unlocking opportunity here in this? This is what you have basically. This is the basic plan.
So at some point of time, yes. So we will be, once our structure is ready, we will look at various opportunities and options going forward. How can we unlock the value and create the shareholder value?
But the whole restructuring process is likely to be completed by when? Is there a
By end of
timeline?
this financial year.
By this end of this FY? Okay,
Yes.
got it. Great, great. And so, the hot news on Friday was about, Mr. Part Jindal joining and, the board approving his inclusion as the additional and, non-executive board member. So what would be his role in the whole firm? If you could just throw some light on that too.
Yeah, it's a commitment of the principal shareholder and the generation next. So incidentally, this is the only business where both Mr. Sajan Jindal and Parth Jindal both are on the board of a company, and that
Right,
demonstrate that how the generation next is excited about the futuristic potential of this particular business, and he wants to contribute given his experience and knowledge and connects. He will be bringing a lot of value and shaping up this business for the future.
so, everybody we've been talking to in the energy sector, one question we always are asking these days is about the EPC cost in terms of solar manufacturing. I mean, in the solar market. So, and the government has also kind of recently come out talked that maybe it would give a 1 year extension for those who've already, locked their projects. I mean, bid at certain price, and also currently just. Kind of also tighten the nose on some of the rules. So, in the whole perspective of government rules and the global EPC market, how do you see the prices going and the way forward? Is there any softening that we see, or it is going to continue this way in the solar market?
So in last couple of quarters, we have seen hardening of interest rates, hardening of commodity prices, and because of which building the new capacity at a competitive tariff is very, very difficult, and that has been a one challenge. The second challenge has been, while government intention has been to build a large manufacturing capabilities within the country, and there have been certain basic custom duties and anti-dumping duties, the industry could not cope up immediately with the rising commodity prices to
Right.
undertake such projects immediately. So in short term, there will be a lot of pain by moderation in the capacity addition. And so this is one of the biggest challenge which we are seeing, that the what capacity has been bidded in the SECI tenders at a very competitive tariffs. Those tariffs are not viable anymore at current interest rate as well as current commodity prices. So maybe you will see a lot of challenge in next 12 to 24 months time frame, and which
Hmm.
will see that the power tariff also going higher going forward. But once the domestic supply chain is created in next 24 to 48 months time frame, this will be a permanent solution.
Right. So, early this year, you had talked about, the company kind of planning to invest at least rupees 10,000 crore every year going forward for almost a decade. Could you give a sector-wise breakup of your portfolio for the readers? I mean, for the listeners and obviously the readers for the story that will follow
It is a
in terms.
combination of all the opportunities which we have talked about, like solar, wind, storage, hydrogen economy. So look like the reason we have talked about 10,000 crore rupees capital expenditure is we generate close to 2,500 crore to 3,000 crore rupees of free cash every year. And typically the power business is 25 to 30% is equity and 70 to 75% is the debt. So with this, we will be able to deploy 10,000 crore rupees capital expenditure every year for next 10 years, and that's what we kept in mind to grow our business. Now,
Hmm.
depending upon the type of opportunity, sometime the opportunities in wind, we go, and after that, like we did not bid for any solar capacity because we saw it coming that we will not be
Oh,
able to build the solar plants for next 24 to 30 months time frame. So we are building only hydro and wind capacity at this point of time. And
that's actually a
as
great
and when
move.
we find the opportunity in solar, we will go for that. So we have been uh, agnostic from the sector side. We have been agnostic only for capital allocation policy and returns on the capital employed. So for us, the only mantra has been that whatever you plan, you should be able to execute, and you should be able to generate desired returns on the capital employed. And that's why we are agnostic about it. So we have built the capacity and capability in each and every sector, and we are ready to turn around that particular sector or that particular resource immediately depending upon the opportunity.
Right. Sir, also, could you, tell us about the company's plans with regard to, you mentioned wind, and currently the government is kind of trying to revive the sector, which has seen a sluggish growth over the past 3, 4 years. Mitra also has a lot of, has a section of wind energy projects, right? Assets under it. So, could you specifically talk about the company's investments and install capacity and the plan ahead for wind energy?
So out of 2.5 gigawatt of the capacity under construction, 2.3 gigawatt is in the wind sector, and balance is hydro. And so we are building large wind farms. In addition to that, we have already locked in resources which are in excess of 10 gigawatt for wind farms in various states. However, similarly, we have built the capability and resources in the solar sector also.
Right.
So, but at this point of time, the projects which are undergoing are in the wind, because we saw that there were little or less inflationary pressures as compared to the solar sector, and then tariffs were more remunerative as compared to the solar sector. That's why
Mm.
we went for the wind sector at that point of time. But we see that there are substantial opportunities in the solar side also, and we are geared up for that.
So, this is a very interesting point that you put out, that, how the company kind of saw it coming before the slump in the solar sector in India, and how you kind of shifted the focus to wind at the right time. Being from the other side, what would be your suggestions to the government with regard to, uh, you know, pushing the wind energy forward? I mean, in terms of, I mean, what would be your demands, other companies' demands to the government in terms of wind sector, improving the sector?
I think government is doing its bit for every sector. It's the solar sector is having its own problem because of number of other issues, not because of anything specific about the solar. However, the government intention for solar was very different, to create a supply chain
Yeah,
infrastructure. But there are certain external factor which has created all those kind of a thing at this point of time. Uh, for with respect to wind, I don't have any specific suggestion for wind, but yes, there are number of other things which are important and for reviving the power sector in the country, which we have been talking to the government. One part is that certainly that bringing power into a GST.
yes,
So
yeah,
that's one area which is very very important. The second thing which is very very important is that there should be a direct subsidy to the consumer in the power sector, as compared to right now various state governments are giving the budgetary supports to the discom, because of
right,
which there is a mismatch in the cash flow, and because of which discoms find various ways to delay the payment to the generator, and receivable issue is created. So
right,
the simpler solution is direct subsidy to the consumer. I think these
right.
two things are going to create a lot of changes into the sector. And the third thing is, already the government has undertaken that smart metering and prepaid meter construct, which once implemented, then there will be a lot of vibrancy in the sector. So I think these three things will totally make a paradigm shift in the sector.
Yeah, but with smart meters, there's also like huge data that comes along with it, right? Is India kind of, I mean, then whatever, I mean, is India kind of ready to analyze and handle and monitor so much data? Isn't it a lot of data, if I'm not wrong, with
No,
smart
that's
meters?
true. Well, the basic premise on the smart meter first is that the prepaid construct, because you probably maybe knowing that more than 95% telecom connection in the country are prepaid. We
Right,
are the largest, highest telecom density in the world, and more than 95% is a prepaid, and that brings in the efficiency in the payment collection mechanism in the country. And once you have the prepaid smart meters, apart from the data, first is the collection efficiency for the discoms will come in. So
right.
you top up your meter. If you are consuming 100 rupees power, you top it up. Otherwise, power is stopped. So with that collection efficiency and then direct subsidy to the consumer, the discom health will be absolutely normal, and then the sector will come to the vibrancy.
For those who have just joined us, I am live with Mr. Prashant Jain, who is the CEO and Joint Managing Director of JSW Energy. Mr. Jain, this would be my last question. I won't trouble you much and take much of your time. Just that, JSW Energy has recently got an LOI from the Himachal government. It has also inked pacts with, say, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, and other states. So, could you just like also tell us about? I mean, in case there are some other states that are on the anvil for the company in which you're planning to, set up your plans, other than those already out in the press.
So yes, we are working in a lot of other states also, and these are the hydro pump storage solutions which we
Yeah.
are doing, because as I explained that going forward there will be a lot of demand of grid stability, wherein the power at the daytime will be stored into these storage solutions, and then in the night time or at the peaking time it will be supplied to the consumer or to the grid. And these are the projects which we are building in various states. We are the largest private sector hydropower producer, and we have a very in-house capability to build this kind of a projects. We have already undertaken the resources close to 50,000 megawatt hour, and similar quantum we are and are also under development, and then all these projects will be going into construction in 12 to 24 months time frame, and then they will be a very big business opportunity for the country as well as the company.
And so, commissioning would be by when? What is the expected
So these
year?
projects take 3 to 4 years time frame
Yeah.
to.
So around 2029 is that what we
So
see?
2027, 26, 27 onwards, you will start seeing the commissioning of these projects.
Right, right, right. So, and just one more thing, because you're here and you've been kind enough to listen to my questions. Last October, we saw a huge crisis, right? But this time, also probably because of the temperatures or the weather conditions, we've seen that the situation didn't go. I mean, the monsoons particularly. That's what I'm talking about. Didn't go as bad. If you could just give a quote on the situation, how India kind of tackled the monsoon in terms of the energy sector this year compared to last October.
So demand and supply is a function of number of things. So power demand has been growing typically between 5 to 7% every year. But what happens is suddenly sometimes there is a momentary power demand pickups, and at that point of time, if the coal situation is not good, or there is a in that particular month the hydropower is not available or enough coal stocks are not available, then at that point of time we tend to see the shortage in the supply, and then merchant prices go up. And this is what happened last year in the month of October, which is very difficult to predict when which month you are going to see these kind of a problems. You saw similar problem in the month of April and May
Exactly.
in the current fiscal also. So these are the problems periodically we will be facing, and the only solution is to build larger capacities, and which everybody is trying to do that. And that's why I saw that the biggest challenge is the capacity addition, because majority of the capacity which is being added up is in the renewable space, and there is a inflationary pressure which is coming up at this point of time. But going forward, as we are developing a lot of supply chain within the country, and these things will become much easier. And but all in all, I see a robust power demand growth and very vibrant power sector going forward.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy Diwali to you as well and your whole team. And yeah, we look forward to doing a next interview soon next year, probably. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. So that was Mr. Prashant Jain, joint managing director and CEO of JSW Energy. Thank you so much, sir.